Jordan Peterson, a Canadian psychologist, author, and media commentator, has risen to prominence through his lectures, books, and public appearances, offering guidance on personal responsibility, meaning-making, and cultural issues. His work, particularly 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos and Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life, has resonated with millions, especially young men seeking structure in a chaotic world. However, Peterson's public persona, particularly his engagement with Christianity and his accusations against figures like Candace Owens, reveals contradictions that undermine his credibility. This video explores Peterson's hypocrisy in his approach to Christianity, his accusations against Owens, and his struggles with benzodiazepine addiction, while acknowledging the positive impact he has had on many lives. Peterson's appeal lies in his ability to blend psychological insights with mythological and religious narratives, offering a framework for personal growth. His emphasis on taking responsibility, cleaning one's room, and confronting chaos has provided practical guidance for individuals struggling with directionlessness. His lectures, often drawing on Jungian archetypes and biblical stories, present a compelling case for meaning through individual effort and moral discipline. For many, Peterson's message has been transformative, offering an antidote to nihilism and encouraging resilience in the face of adversity. His global speaking tours, YouTube lectures, and books have garnered millions of followers, attesting to his ability to connect with those seeking purpose. However, Peterson's influence is not without flaws. His prescriptive advice, while empowering for some, often assumes a universal applicability that ignores systemic factors or individual circumstances. Moreover, his public persona as a moral guide is complicated by his personal struggles and rhetorical inconsistencies, particularly regarding Christianity and his accusations of hypocrisy in others. Hypocrisy in Peterson's approach to Christianity. Peterson's engagement with Christianity is a cornerstone of his public identity, yet it is marked by ambiguity and contradiction. He frequently draws on biblical narratives, describing them as profound sources of psychological and moral truth. In a 2017 interview, when asked if he was a Christian, Peterson responded, "I suppose the most straightforward answer to that is yes," but qualified this by saying he does not believe in God in a conventional sense, suggesting instead that God is the ultimate fictional character at the top of a hierarchy of attention and action. This Jungian interpretation, which views religious stories as archetypes rather than historical or divine truths, contrasts sharply with Orthodox Christian belief, which emphasizes faith in a literal God and the historical reality of Christ's resurrection. Peterson's reluctance to affirm a clear stance on Christianity, neither fully embracing it nor rejecting it, creates a tension between his public image and his private beliefs. He leverages Christian symbolism to appeal to conservative audiences while maintaining intellectual distance, describing the Bible as a product of the collective human imagination rather than divine inspiration.
And then we could say, well, the highest place is the divine place, and we could make that a matter of definition. And so then we might say, well, what should be in the divine place? And I would say, well, it has to be something that you can look at the world through, and it has to be something you act out. And then we could say, well, that still leaves residual mystery. And then we might ask, well, how do we characterize it? And I would say we characterize that using fiction, because fiction is the abstraction of hierarchies of attentional prioritization and action. And so we could say that in the highest sense, in the biblical corpus, God is the ultimate fictional character.
This approach allows him to benefit from the moral authority of Christianity without committing to its theological demands, a move that critics argue is opportunistic. For someone who admonishes others to set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world, Peterson's equivocation on such a foundational issue suggests a lack of personal clarity that undermines his own rule. This ambiguity becomes particularly stark in his criticism of Candace Owens. In 2025, Peterson accused Owens of being a Pharisaical pretender who vociferously proclaims her devotion to Christ for no other reason than to elevate her perceived status. He suggested that her public declarations of faith, particularly her use of the phrase "Christ is King," were manipulative and psychopathic, aimed at advancing her personal agenda rather than reflecting genuine belief.
And I obviously have been on the receiving end of this, had nothing but a fine relationship with Jordan Peterson. I opened for him years ago, actually, on his 12 Rules tour. And he called me a Pharisaical pretender. This is a real tweet because I said Christ is King. This is the one that Christ is King has broken so many people's brains. It's amazing. It's incredible why the declaration that Christ is King has broken so many people's brains. I wasn't even speaking to him. I was speaking to somebody else. And I said, thank you for re-upping this most crucial conversation about Christ is King almost exactly a year later. And once again, during the season of Lent, after a year of thoughtfulness, I want you to know that I will never stop declaring it. Is anything about that tweet? Keep that back up. Anything about me saying that make you think that someone should be jumping in and calling you a Pharisaical pretender? Well, that's what Dr. Jordan Peterson does on X. This is how he behaves on X. Okay, there's just long threads of him writing these like poetry, like literally it reads like poetry, but he's calling people names, ad hominem attacks. He writes Candace Owens, a true Pharisaical pretender. Again, this is a guy who has not asserted that Christ is anything in his life. He is not baptized, and he gets angry when people push him on what his religion is. She vociferously proclaims her devotion to Christ for no other reason than to elevate her perceived status. Her outrage is designed not to shout the truth from the rooftops, but to build bridges or make peace, but to subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. She's literally using God's name in vain. There are few more unforgivable sins. Okay. Or I just said Christ is King because there was a renewed attack on the phrase, which was being sponsored by Dr. Peterson. Dr. Peterson teamed up with the ADL and the NCRI to try to label any political dissidents of theirs mentally ill. Okay. I think it's the thing that he's done that's been the most beyond the pale for me. For me, it's hang it up. I am not a fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson anymore because I see right through this.
This accusation is ironic, given Peterson's own use of Christian rhetoric to bolster his intellectual brand. Unlike Owens, who openly identifies as a Catholic and defends her faith-based positions, Peterson's Christianity appears more performative, tailored to resonate with his audience without requiring personal conviction. His attack on Owens as a hypocrite mirrors the very behavior he criticizes, as he wields Christian language to critique others while remaining vague about his own beliefs. Peterson's struggles with benzodiazepine addiction further highlight his hypocrisy. In 2019 and 2020, Peterson faced severe health issues due to dependence on clonazepam, a sedative prescribed to manage anxiety following his wife's cancer diagnosis. His attempts to quit led to debilitating withdrawal symptoms, culminating in a medically induced coma in Russia, a controversial and risky procedure. Peterson and his daughter, Mikhaila, have insisted that his issue was physical dependence, not addiction, framing it as a medical mishap rather than a personal failing. However, this distinction is contentious, as dependence and addiction often overlap, and his decision to pursue rapid detox abroad raises questions about his adherence to the measured, responsible approach he advocates. Peterson's addiction is particularly striking in light of his public emphasis on personal responsibility. His rule to set your house in perfect order implies a level of self-control and discipline that he failed to exhibit in his own life. Critics argue that his addiction, and his subsequent minimization of it, contradicts his brand as a self-help guru who instructs others to overcome weakness through grit. For instance, a 2020 Forbes article noted that Peterson's health complications shattered his own rule, as he continued to criticize societal issues while his personal life was in disarray. His daughter's claim that the medical system in the West was responsible for his near-death experience further deflects accountability, blaming external systems rather than acknowledging his role in misusing the medication. This episode also informs his criticism of Owens. By accusing her of hypocrisy and manipulation, Peterson projects his own vulnerabilities onto her. His struggle with addiction and the public scrutiny it attracted may have heightened his sensitivity to accusations of inauthenticity, leading him to lash out at Owens as a way to deflect attention from his own contradictions. The irony is that Owens has been open about her faith and political evolution, while Peterson has been less transparent about his addiction and its implications for his philosophy. Despite these criticisms, Peterson's positive impact cannot be dismissed. His ability to articulate the importance of meaning, responsibility, and resilience has helped countless individuals navigate personal crises. His psychological insights, grounded in his academic background, offer valuable tools for self-improvement, and his willingness to challenge prevailing cultural narratives has sparked important debates. However, his hypocrisy, particularly in his ambiguous Christianity, his struggles with addiction, and his accusations against Owens, undermines his authority as a moral guide. Peterson's case illustrates the dangers of elevating public intellectuals to guru status. His contradictions highlight the human fallibility that he himself acknowledges but fails to fully embody in his public life. While he has helped many, his attacks on figures like Owens reveal a defensive posture, perhaps driven by his own insecurities about his credibility. To truly align with his own principles, Peterson would need to clarify his beliefs, acknowledge his personal failings more openly, and refrain from projecting his struggles onto others. Jordan Peterson's influence as a thinker and guide is undeniable, but his hypocrisy in matters of Christianity and personal responsibility complicates his legacy. His vague engagement with Christian faith, contrasted with his accusations against Candace Owens, reveals a double standard that undermines his call for authenticity. His benzodiazepine addiction and the deflection surrounding it further erode the image of disciplined self-mastery he projects. While Peterson's work has inspired many to find meaning and order, his contradictions serve as a reminder that even those who preach responsibility are not immune to human frailty. To move forward, Peterson must confront these inconsistencies with the same courage he urges in others, lest his message be overshadowed by the very hypocrisy he decries.